Good evening. Thank you all for being here. We're going to go ahead and call the Sebring Community Redevelopment Agency July 14th, 2025 meeting to order. Nellie, would you please call the roll?
Here.
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 Here. If there's anybody here in the audience who has something they want to talk to us about that's not on the agenda, if you please see Alexa, she will take care of you and get the form signed, and we'll take that up at the end of the meeting. If it's on the agenda, then you don't have to do that. We'll have plenty of time for you to address us during those action items. First item up is the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion from the board? Nellie?
Yes.
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 Yes. Next up, we have staff reports. Ms. Vasquez.
Yes, sir. I do not have anything to add unless the board has any questions on the report.
Any questions for Christie? Okay. Next item, we will move into new business. It is time for our audit review report. Ms. Fowler.
Good evening. I'm Julie Fowler, here to present the results of your audit for the year ending September 30, 2024. I do have a copy of my presentation.
Y'all want the presentation?
It's in here.
Okay.
That's the same as what's
Yeah.
in.
It's,
We got it in the
Yeah.
agenda pack. Thank
Okay. First, I'm listed the highlights of the services we provided this year. We did audit the CRA's financial statements. We provided a report on internal control as well as the management letter that's required by the Auditor General. We issue a report to you as the regard to the governance of the CRA, as well as a report on your compliance with Florida statutes for investment of public funds. And the good news is we've issued unmodified or clean opinions on the financial statements and your investment with public funds. We did not identify any deficiencies in internal control that we needed to report to you either. So all clean audit reports this year.
Awesome.
In the governance letter, there were no new accounting standards that were required to be implemented this year. No significant estimates, no unusual items that were identified during the course of the audit. And just taking a quick look at the trends over the last 5 years, your revenue did come up about $200,000, mostly due to your tax revenue increasing. And then you did have one of the largest years for expenses that you've had in the CRA, at least in quite a while. And of course, that was due to all the improvements that were made. So nothing unexpected. Overall, everything was going great. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from Mrs. Fowler? All right. Well, thank you for being here.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have a downtown revitalization grant. These are not put on the consent agenda. They are put under new business for the board to have the opportunity to discuss should you wish to do so. This is one of our first retail operations that are new retail operations that has popped up. It's located over there by the Children's Museum, and they are requesting funds to offset their upgrades to the back door and the front storage windows of the building. It's an older building and needs to kind of be brought up. So I will open that up for discussion from the board should you wish.
And the city's requiring the back door, right?
Do you know if that's a code?
Yeah. So that sort of plays into a little discussion we can have, but the 39 or whatever that number was, the one.
Before you go forward, let me also fill you guys in just real quickly. So the applicant who owns the building is out of St. Petersburg, and she, at the last minute, she called me very apologetically, was not able to be here tonight. Allison Willie, who is the tenant, she was on the consent agenda for a design review, and she did not realize she was supposed to be here. We were going to ask her to stand in. We don't have anybody here from it, so sorry. Go ahead, Will.
Oh, no problem. The only comments I really had is the back door on the alley. That is a code requirement for a couple different reasons. I think they're doing what they're doing there. One would be means of egress, which is chapter 10 in the code, and that actually falls under the life safety provisions. And then the other one would be ADA compliance. I think that door was too small, or there was an overhead door or something like that. But anyway, that one is pretty clear cut that it's covered with under the grant. Storefronts are a little trickier. I'm probably going to suggest that I know we don't know when exactly, but we're probably revising those grants here coming up pretty soon. So we might want to clarify some of the language in there a little bit. Life safety is not, from a coach perspective, is not really just a descriptive way of a whole bunch of things that you would consider life safety. It's sort of specific about what it addresses, and that specific item would not be. Although, to be honest with you, I probably think we should be. That's safety glazing. It's in chapter 24, which isn't technically address any life safety
Okay.
items, but it's probably something we should consider covering anyway. So we could maybe clean up the language a little bit there. There's quite a bit of storefront downtown that's not compliant.
So the
code
windows, are they
compliant.
not life safety?
Technically, they're not life safety. It's I guess what I'm saying, but
Necessary.
yes, it was definitely a code requirement. The discussion amongst us is whether it's a life safety requirement or falls outside of that. And technically, it falls outside of that, but I'm making the argument that it probably could be considered a life safety issue.
Okay.
Or we just change our language to include that portion of this.
Well, and these buildings are so old, I assume that the windows are probably not up to code.
They're not, because they're not tempered glass. So that's like I said, falls under a different chapter in the code that addresses safety glazing, and there's a whole bunch of requirements that you can spell out and say glass so close to a door or so close to the floor or blah blah blah. A whole bunch of things has to be safety glass, tempered glass,
Okay.
and a lot of the old storefronts downtown is not.
Okay.
I think they're asking for like 7,000 something.
So
I
What
think that was
percentage?
11. I think the storefront was 11. The back door was like 4. It added to 15 or something. That 7 is half.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question.
I mean, from the standpoint, and I don't know the code, especially like Willem, but from the standpoint of having a good boutique retail space downtown, I was kind of excited
I'm
about it.
pretty excited about it, yeah.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, and like I said, technically, like even though it's technically not that, I think that's something that we probably should consider or at least discuss when we do the grant, modify the grant to have that covered one way or another. I think it's a valid request. It could be storefront could be fairly expensive, and it's you get into something like the old car.
yes.
They just changed that sort of scenario could get fairly pricey, and that's the kind of stuff we want done. Really, so I think we should probably offer some assistance in that direction.
Does that answer your question, Rachel?
Yes, thank you.
You have anything else you want to throw in?
Nope.
All right. Is there a motion to approve or deny the request? Small board tonight. I gotta speak up.
I'll make a motion to approve the downtown revitalization grant application in the amount of $7,742 for the property located at 215 North Ridgewood Drive as presented.
All right, very good. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Got a second. Is there any further discussion from the board? Anything from the audience? Nelly?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, we have no old business. Anything from the audience? We'll move into board members' remarks. Rachel?
I'm good. Somebody needs to buy us some time though, because I don't want to walk out there right now.
I got a couple
Well,
of
we
things.
can. There's a few things we can discuss.
Nothing from you? All right, I've got just a handful. Number one, the Bank of America building. Mike Telshaw will be vacating at the end of this month. I would like to get permission from the board to allow staff to start doing some work on the outside. Nothing major, but take the lettering down, maybe clean up the parking lot a little bit, and just make it a little bit presentable. I've got to meet with Marty from Marmor. He and I need to sit down and start going over some of the stuff. The Hall of Fame did not receive any appropriations from Tallahassee. So Marty and I have been going back and forth a little bit and had a couple of conversations, but we're to the point where we want to kind of put some stuff down on paper to where we can bring it back to the board and kind of have a starting point. He's working. I've been kind of talking with the Hall of Fame board as well to try to figure out what their plan is and next steps. I think that we're probably going to end up with a provision to allow a year, maybe 2 years for them to do some fundraising and see where that goes. But Marty would like to get started. So, but in an effort to do that, I'd like to clean the place up if that's okay with you guys a little bit.
They didn't get anything. Is what you said. None. Zero. Wow.
Yeah. It was a tough year up there in Tallahassee. The city of Sebring received some money for fire truck and new radios for the police department. But stuff like this did not get approved in this session. So they still have an opportunity to go back. They're also talking with some of their members to, about fundraising. They would like their benchmark, and I don't think they would mind me saying this, but their benchmark is to try to have $1 million pledged. Then they would feel comfortable moving forward. So they're working on that part. But regardless, it's my understanding that Marmor intends to move forward with the building regardless. So, but it's still, one of our main reasons for purchasing it was an eyesore. So I'd like to clean up some of the eyesores.
So let's say we move forward with Marmor without the guarantee of that. Like, obviously Marmor's gonna improve the property.
Yes.
So that would be the beneficial side of going ahead and moving forward as far as we go. But obviously we would still be able to help determine what's going on
Oh,
that
yes.
bottom floor. They would just basically go in, start doing improvements, do what they need to do to take over the top floor, and then we would determine what goes downstairs.
Yeah, we still have a opportunity to participate in that conversation. What goes in downstairs, Marty is willing to give kind of a pretty wide grace period there to allow that to happen. He would like to see the Hall of Fame in there is the way that it comes across to me. So he's willing to be, as helpful as possible, but there does need to be an end date in there. And I agree with him on that. So if it's not going to happen, then that's okay. I'm sure that he is going to do something phenomenal. He hasn't spoken less than that the whole time. So one of the things, though, and I would also say that we are pretty far away from, Marty might be able to get in there and start working. That could happen very quickly. The stuff that has to get kind of ironed out is the numbers are kind of all over the place. And what I mean by that is like, dealing with the remediation and stuff like that, we're pretty wide on what those numbers kind of look like right now. I think we've gotten down to a decent number, but before we can go further, Marty and I need to sit down.
A decent number as far as like
Well,
a reasonable number?
So we asked for a quote, and our quote was $1.5 million. It's like $400,000 to tear
That's
this thing
not
down.
reasonable.
But that's it's not reasonable. and he was able to get another quote that was much more reasonable and in line with previous projects we've done. So, like I said, he's been working pretty diligently on his side. We've tried to do what we can from a government agency point of view, but I think it's time that we sit down and start hashing
Hashing
out
it out.
what needs to be done and where the money is going to come from, and what can we do to help, and what can we not do to help. But in the meantime, while we're doing that, I think we can make that place look a little bit nicer, as a gateway to the downtown. So if it's okay with you guys, I don't know what kind of cost we're talking about, but what my expectation is that it's a minimal cost, probably somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 on the high end. But I don't even know if we're going to do that. Taking letters down and stuff like that shouldn't cost a lot. Even if we redid the landscaping, it wouldn't cost $10,000, which we're not going to do. But
Do you need a motion for that?
no, I don't need a motion. I just need to make sure that the board is okay with it. If somebody has a problem, then we'll just sit tight.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, honest opinion is there's, regardless of what happens with the building, what the time frame is, what that is,
Needs to look
happens in.
good.
There's going to be some maintenance work needs to be done because we can't just let it go. So, and it's already in the state where probably want to get ahead of that stuff. So I think that's just going to be part of the process.
And if you've got any suggestions of things that we could do that we're not thinking of, because I'm thinking aesthetically, but if it's stuff like that, if you want to let Christy know or whatever, we can definitely implement that.
Yeah, I'll touch base with you, Chris, and see what you're thinking, and then maybe throw some ideas out there if there's some other things.
That'd be perfect. It's that time of year again, so the next meeting is gonna be really exciting. We'll start talking about the budget. So the way the budget plan has worked in the past, we plan to continue the same process is we will present the budget to you guys next meeting. We're waiting, I believe, still for our final, TIF numbers. Once we anticipate having those in time for the next meeting, but regardless, you're gonna get a draft budget at the next meeting. You'll have the in-between time to go through it. We'll have comments if you want at that meeting, time in between to review it and talk about it. Then we'll bring it back at the September meeting for a vote. And then, nope, that's it. Grant is what we need to work on verbiage. So that is all I have. Didn't take long enough.
Nope.
If you guys have anything else you want to bring
What
up?
about Kenilworth? What's going on with Kenilworth?
There's no
Anything?
word on North Ridgewood.
As far as the bank building. So he's started pressure washing. They found leaks in the outside structure that they're having to, as they pressure wash, they're patching, then they will put the sealant on and then paint. Is that right, or is it vice versa? I can't remember.
No, I would imagine that because they sealed it first, whatever project.
Okay.
This is the brick he's talking about.
Yes. Yeah, that and some of the stucco had some issues, but they're addressing that now. They're continuing to work on it. Regents is still in their final design phase. I think he met with the architect last week.
Did he give you an
before?
update on how long? Because I know they closed the parking lot and then put a lift there, and then I haven't seen that lift moved in 2 weeks.
No, it's moved. It's now on the almost to
Okay.
the front.
Okay, so something happened.
So
then.
they are working.
Okay.
And then I think once they get that done, well, it's probably simultaneously because Regents is working independently. They will begin construction sometime around the end of this month.
Did you guys have any discussion about landscaping or anything like that happening before that other plan's complete? Or
No,
is
we
it
have
just the
not.
paint? Just the facade?
Right now, it's just the facade.
Okay.
But he does, I think he feels kind of the pressure, if you will, not only from getting this project started and worked on, but it's being kind of combined with other projects they're working on. So he does have a sense of urgency right now to get to work.
I was just curious where they
Yeah.
were at. I saw the start, and then I haven't been downtown since middle of last week, but up to that point it didn't look like there was really much movement.
It's not completely noticeable. There's still particularly the stucco. It's getting cleaned, but it hasn't made a huge pop. But it's because they're having to now do some maintenance as they go through
As they
the
go.
process. Kenilworth, you had a meeting with Monier.
I did, but I mean,
Pointless.
no, just I mean, I think they're just still
No,
moving along. It was more of a checkup.
Greg's here, right?
Greg's here.
He's ignoring me.
Ignoring all of us.
he's looking up to the top of his glasses. He hears you.
He's trying to order.
Can you answer a question for me? It's not so much trouble. Could you give us the official word on any sort of permit, open permits for Kenilworth? There are none. It's short and sweet. I was expecting that, but I figured I'd get the official word.
And Representative Dimitri, was to address the lift station that was there. Mr. Red Hall wanted the small buildings behind the building to be energized so that he could outstaff their construction activities. I told him that the service that was there to the property, such transformers that are on site. The whole thing is there is with the rock, since
There's been no submittals for review on anything. Okay.
There's a local architect that he was engaged to work on it. They were working through
you haven't seen anything.
Do you know if it's still tied up in litigation? Okay,
I'll assume it's
I haven't either. Okay. Any other questions for Greg?
Thank you.
Does that satisfy y'all for Kenilworth for this evening? No news?
No news.
I mean, that'll be the first good sign. There's movement on that front, so that'll sort of tip us off that it's starting to go in the right
Something's
direction.
happening, yeah.
He had in the past approached us about possibly trying to participate financially, but we haven't heard anything else in that vein either. So. All right.
Good deal.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Sorry, y'all gotta swim home. Thank y'all for being here.